I'm Chris Wilson. I live in Wellington, New Zealand, and I'm talking to you today, or I'm going to talk to you today about healing in the Akashic Records. I've been working in the Akashic Records for 10 years now, and I love it. It's a beautiful, healing, high vibrational space. When you're in them, you feel like you're being hugged and loved and supported, and I've taught many people now how to access the Akashic Records and use the Akashic Records to help themselves. It used to be, the Akashic Records used to be like the preserve of just a few people, and I think many of us have heard of Edgar Casey and his work in the records, but now they're trending, they're exploding, and they're being opened up to many more people. And I feel it's part of my mission to do this, to help facilitate this process. So today, as I said, I'm talking about healing in the Akashic Records, and the healing potentials in the records are huge. The Akashic Records are what I call quantum energy, and they connect us immediately to the field. The most important element of quantum energy is its ability to react directly to consciousness, to our thoughts, feelings and beliefs, but most of all to intention. So our intention is crucial. So I've worked with many people removing energetic blocks, helping with emotional healing, removing the energetic imprints of trauma, of fears, of limiting beliefs, of sabotaging patterns of behaviour, of uncomfortable feelings, many of which come from past life experiences they've had in the body. At this time on earth, as we're moving from the third through the fourth to the fifth dimension, there is so much that doesn't resonate at that high level, the high vibration of the fifth dimension that we need to shift. And the Akashic Records are the perfect container, the perfect safe place to do this healing. So I've been facilitating emotional healing with people almost since, when I started, like giving readings, and then I was prompted to help with the healing. And more recently, I've been working with physical healing techniques because the body has a lot of quantum elements which respond to direction and work with other quantum energy. The great thing about quantum energy, or anything that's quantum, is that it's sociable, it works together, it's benevolent, it likes to work to heal and for the highest good of the person. So within the Akashic Records, it sort of amplifies this whole effect, and you can bring in, you're in the fifth dimension anyway, and you can bring in like the quantum elements of the body, which are really the cellular wisdom, the cellular intelligence or smart body, and the junk or non-coding DNA to affect physical healing. So I'll talk a wee bit more about that later, but a lot of us have beliefs or fears that are holding us back. They're keeping us stuck and blocked, and sometimes these fears originated hundreds of years ago in a lifetime, and the trauma of it was so great that we find it really difficult to release. I had a client earlier this year, a man, who came to me, and he's got a professional job, he's really well qualified, but he said, look, I'm blocked, I don't know what to do, I just can't charge what I'm worth. So even though he had a good job, he worked really hard, he was finding it really difficult to pay his bills and to make ends meet. So I went into his Akashic Records, and I saw a life, quite recent life, in Germany as a Jewish rabbi during World War II, and he was given lists of people that were selected for transportation to the camp, and he had to look at these lists and then break the news to the people that were getting transported or deported. So in this life, I saw that he was presented with a list, and on the list was quite a few people, names of people in his family and people that he loved in his community. He didn't want to send them away to what he felt was, or knew deep down was, certain death. And so he went to the Gestapo officers and begged them to take some of the names off the list. And they were so angry and affronted by his cheek and audacity that they didn't take any of the names off, they just added more. So when I told him all this, he said, oh God, I've always had this feeling that if I charge for too much, if I charge too much or ask for too much, if I ask for too much, something terrible is going to happen. So that was easy for me because I knew the belief that I had to work with. So what I did with him is we framed an intention, and it was probably something like, it is my intention to completely release all energetic imprints and trauma and fear connected in the belief of if I ask for too much, something terrible is going to happen from all lifetimes, time frames. I may have said something like, in particular, my lifetime is, because it was connected closely to that lifetime, is the rabbi in Germany. And then I always use with physical healing, I get Saint Germain in, and I ask Saint Germain to blaze, we invoke the violet flame, and the violet flame, I get to move through the physical body and the macabre, the energy field, which also has a lot of quantum elements of the person, to remove the imprints of the energetic of the belief or whatever I'm trying to shift. So we did that. Sometimes now I use the dragons because they've come into prominence in the last few years, and I get them to breathe their sacred fire through the field of the person that I'm working with. So I did that, and then I took this man back to the lifetime, and I got him to close his eyes, and he saw his past life self. And then what I do is I get them to hold the hands of the past life self and look into their eyes and say, I am, whatever their name is, Chris, a future aspect of you. And then just sort of, the aim of it is really to bring that past life self to a place of peace and understanding, so they can let it go, and whatever, my client is carrying, from that past life for them can be released. So they did that, and by the end of it, the past life rabbi sort of understood. He could sort of see the bigger picture. He knew he had to let that go. My client could let it go, and that belief was completely turned around so that it wasn't sort of holding my client back anymore. And he's been in touch since and said that he has got, it's really made a big difference, and something's really big has shifted. So I do a lot of this work all the time, and I'm teaching others how to do this as well, and I love it. So in terms of physical healing, as I said before, there's a lot of sort of quantum elements in the body that sort of rally around. We can talk to our bodies and instruct, because quantum energy responds to consciousness and intention and words. We can actually talk to the quantum elements in our bodies and instruct them to release anything, really that we want to release. So I do that usually. I always start with an intention with the physical healing as well, and it could be something like, it is my intention to completely heal myself from my condition of asthma. I got asthma at the age of 48 in this lifetime when I was going through a difficult time. And one thing I've found with the physical healing is it's particularly successful if the current life ailment is connected to something from the past life, a weakness from a past life. And in the mid-19th century, I discovered that at the same age as I was when I got asthma in this lifetime, I was also struggling and feeling powerless and had a difficult situation and feeling feeling emotions that I felt again at this life at the same age. Often the age is a factor. Things will come back at a certain age because the body remembers the age. And in that lifetime I had TB, or I think it was called consumption then. And in this life it's like the weakness in my chest was reactivated. So I'll often go back like to a past life when you can talk to the body and release, even talk to the past life self from the life where you had the ailment or the weakness in that area of your body that has returned, and I find that quite helpful. The great thing about the Akashic Records is you can time travel. So one thing I also do is I often take my clients back in this current lifetime to the time before, just before they got sick. And what you can do across time is you can send love and healing back through time. The Akashic Records, aren't in linear time. and everything's sort of happening simultaneously, so it's easy to do that. So that's one technique I also use. The other thing that I like to do is all of us have like a perfect etheric or blueprint of health and perfection in the etheric, like an energetic blueprint of physical perfection. So I bring that template in with the person's Akashic record open and anchor that into their body as well. I sometimes call on the services of Archangel Raphael, who's a healing, sometimes the Healing Band of Mercy Angels, and the Arcturians, who work particularly with sort of emotions and emotional ailments and things like that. You can do anything in the Akashic records, and anything that sort of resonates at fifth dimensional vibration and higher, angels, unicorns, the angelic realm, anything, ascended masters, you can actually bring in to that space really easily for assistance. So that's something I often do. I always end all of my healing sessions with affirmations. With a physical healing session, one of my favourites is obviously I am healed, and I also often will get them to connect with their life force and to bring in their life force again. So an affirmation for that could be, my life force has fully returned to me. And I get people to say the affirmations 3 times, because it's that magic number, that catalytic number of the 3. And so having a lot of success, definitely with the emotional healing. A lot of people feel a lot lighter, they're happy. At the start of the session, they're looking a bit anxious, they're much happier at the end. I don't do so many sessions at my home now, but when I did, they'd walk up. I live on the side of a hill, and they'd walk up the hill, and then they'd come in, and by the time they were walking out, they'd be rushing down and much lighter with a spring in their step. So it's wonderful to be able to do this work. I'm teaching others how to use the healing techniques now, particularly in my level 2 and level 3 workshops. I facilitate any sort of healing that I need to do. Increasingly, I'm working with people with trauma, because trauma is of a very low vibration. So it's a vibration, really of the 3rd dimension, of pain and suffering, and so that has to go. So there's a lot of trauma at the moment, not just past life, but current life, sort of making its presence felt on the planet, and all sorts of areas really. So I work with trauma techniques, and I get a lot of people with family healing or ancestral wounding that need assistance as well, and the Akashic Records is also like a perfect place for facilitating that. So inner child healing, any healing that needs to be done, like every client is different, every person I work with is different. It's easily done within the Akashic Records. It's a great place, and you just have to talk with them and frame the right intention, and I always get them to say it, because it's obviously much more powerful when they say it. It's more powerful if they can you can interact with them during the healing process, and I do that as much as possible, and of course if they can come up with their own affirmations as well. So I'm learning new things all the time. I'm loving teaching it to other people. I'm really keen to get my work out there more. I have written a book called The Magic of the Akashic Records, and I'm working really hard at the moment on another book. I won't tell you what it's called, I haven't quite decided on the name, but it's honestly coming together quickly, and I talk about all the healing in quite a lot of detail, particularly in the second book. So you can find me on my website, www.akashicreadingsnz.com, and on Facebook as Chris Wilson, The Magic of the Akashic Records. So I'm really grateful for this opportunity to talk to you today about my work, to talk to you about the Akashic Records, which I love and have been an absolute lifeline for me. And so with grateful thanks, and sending a lot of love to everybody who has listened or will listen to this, take care. Lots of love. Thank you very much.